The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
We're doing multiple searches and that we're utilizing our partners at the FBI that have some really, great equipment, training, experienced people, all of those things. We're coming at this investigation with from every angle and with everything that we have access to.
We have not been able to locate the child as of yet.
We want answers! We want answers! Where is Melodee Buzzard and what is her mom, Ashlee, doing? She's expected to be back in court today for her false imprisonment charge. We're talking all about the case. Plus, we're zeroing in on singer David. He's now being identified as a suspect in the death of 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. So, if he is a suspect, where are the charges? And grief author and accused killer Corey Richards staying put in jail. Her bond request has been denied. So what's her next move? Also this hour, we've got troubling allegations emerging in the cruise ship death of 18-year-old Anna Kepner. Her 16-year-old stepbrother being named as a suspect in family court filings. We're digging deeper into the blended family. It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Thursday morning to you. Welcome to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. Should I say happy Friday Eve, right? We're almost there, and we got a tremendous show planned for you, so let's get it started. Grab that cup of coffee right now, my friends. It's time for my opening statement. What's up with Ashlee Buzzard? I mean, really, what's she up to? Her beautiful, innocent 9-year-old daughter, Melodee, is missing, and she isn't out there looking for her. So what is she doing? Is she sitting home all day watching Bravo and eating ice cream? Is she enjoying her life right now? I was thinking about this lady, and I am so deeply troubled and appalled by her actions. The road trip, the wigs, the false license plate, all of her actions are suspicious and incredibly concerning. And so are her inactions. Her refusal to be helpful to anyone who's concerned about Melodee's well-being. I still say cuff her already. I've been saying all along that they should jail her on endangering the welfare of her child and obstructing justice. It infuriates me that she is still free to enjoy her life while her minor child may be held captive somewhere. It is not fair. And if she isn't home all day watching TV, what is she doing? We know she's not helping to find her child. And that inaction tells me everything I need to know about Ashlee Buzzard. I hope and I pray that investigators crack this case soon. I hope beautiful Melodee is still alive and can be brought home safely. And if her mother intentionally put her in harm's way, I sure hope she pays the dearest price that the law allows. That's my opening statement on this Thursday morning. As you can see, I'm fired up about this case. We're going to talk about it more right now. It's your Daily Docket.
You killed? The baby you killed? No. No? I mean, it pains me to know and work a child could, be about their parents.
In Georgia, we're going to be learning if defendant Matthew Lance will be testifying this morning. This guy's accused of brutally killing firefighter Justin Hicks and his wife Amber in their brand new home. Court's going to resume at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. We're going to go in there live together when it does. In Tennessee, we have got the man convicted of kidnapping, raping, and killing Holly Bobo back in court. Zach Adams wants a new trial, and he's expected to testify. Day 2 of his hearing is going to get underway at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. And in Massachusetts, we've got jury selection continuing this morning for accused wife killer Brian Walsh. Opening statements are expected to happen on December the 1st. Right now, let's turn to your top story as Mama Ashlee Buzzard's going to be back in court today for a preliminary hearing on her false imprisonment charge. Here's some photos, brand new, of her in court on Wednesday. If you missed it, take a look at this new look. Police say Her charge stems from her pulling out a box cutter on her friend when the friend started having a conversation about where her daughter Melodee is. You can see she's wearing another wig here in court. That long curly wig she was wearing at the time of her arrest, and from the surveillance footage, might be the same wig, might not be, hard to tell. The hearing was quick, only lasted a minute or so. The judge confirmed that they will be moving forward with the preliminary hearing this morning, so that's where testimony is going to be taken. We'll get to learn a little more about that incident, but the big question still looming this morning, where is Melodee? Let's bring in our power panel this morning. I want to welcome in high-profile criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Michael J. Brown. Retired lieutenant, he was the commander of the Nassau County Police K-9 unit, also served with the NYPD. K-9 expert Mike Gould, and the sheriff in Erie County, Pennsylvania, Sheriff Chris Campanelli. Good morning to you all. Wow, what a power panel this is. Let's start with the burning question of where is Melodee? Sheriff Campanelli, I want to begin with you, please. Tapping into your experience with investigations, what do you say to all these folks at home watching this program right now who are wondering what in the world is happening with that child?
Great question. I think the folks of that community are very lucky that the FBI is involved. They have the absolute resources and the training and experience behind them that I believe that if anybody's going to find this little girl, it's going to be them.
Yes, we have that faith. Lieutenant Gould, I want to go to you next, please. We've talked before on the program about surveillance of Ashlee in the meantime and the utility of her being out right now. I would love your thoughts on that now at this juncture as we sit here this morning.
Yeah, Julie, well, I share your sentiments. I thought she should have. Of course, I don't know the laws. Michael will certainly shed some light on what his opinion, why not. But child endangerment in California, I think there's sufficient amount of evidence to show that she's not cooperating. Her child's gone. There's mental illness with neon lights flashing around her. It's a very strange, there's not much talk about Melodee, really. And I agree with the sheriff. Of course, the FBI is involved. But it's like, what's not happening? I don't see a lot of search and rescue people. When a child goes missing, historically, the community gets together. This is a possible filicide where the mother possibly may have killed her own daughter. So it's really strange. It's very sterile. She comes to court in an Uber. She leaves in an Uber. She locks herself in the house. It's dark. It's just something very strange to me that, and maybe it's because I'm on the East Coast and there might be much more media coverage out there, but it's something very strange, and I agree with your sentiments that she should have been arrested at some point just to have her opportunity to talk to her.
Lieutenant, great points. I want to dovetail off the one you made, excellent point about there may be a mental health component here. Michael J. Brown, want to ask you, we know she's picked up one criminal case, but it doesn't pertain to Melodee. It's a false imprisonment charge. Tell me, if you're representing her and you're going today to court for this preliminary hearing, what are your main objectives?
Yeah, well, good morning, Julie. Good morning, everybody. It seems as though it was really, they're going after her for that incident when obviously the bigger picture is about this young child. So from the defense standpoint, they're just going to sit and wait. They've already said they're representing her, so they're not going to be able to question her. It just defies common sense. And to all of us sitting here watching this case, we expect the worst, but hope for the best. There's a lot of unanswered questions. And I think ultimately what's going to happen is the FBI obviously is going to do their job, and they're going to do as much as they can in terms of investigation. I think they're going to rely heavily on the public, because a lot of public tips on this type of case could really answer the question of what happened to this young lady and where she would be.
Oh, definitely. Great point. Let's listen to a clip from Grandma. This is Melodee's paternal grandmother speaking out. Her father has passed away.
I would have never recognized her. I can't believe it's her. She looks so different. What about my case? Where's my granddaughter? Well, we don't know nothing yet. That's what they tell me.
How about she said she wouldn't have recognized her? Sheriff Campanelli, I want to talk to you about the disguises. We know that Melodee was, in fact, alive on the date of October 7th. We have video surveillance confirmation of that, as you know, where she and Mom are at the car rental business. They're both wearing wigs. Melodee's also got her hoodie up in that business. And then we know Mom takes this long trip through several states. There's a look at those images. Grandma presumably referencing that image where she's saying, you know, not even recognizing her. I mean, it's just, it's bizarre. We know they had a false license plate along the trip. We know they went through Utah, Nevada, all the way to Nebraska, and then they came back to California. But oh, not they, just Mom came back. Melodee did not return on the trip with her. Sheriff, what do you make of some of these forms of deception here that were used by Mom?
Yeah, I mean, someone that is going to go to these extremes to change their appearance, to have a false license plate. I mean, there's definitely something sinister behind this. And I do agree. The more you look at it, the more it points towards a mental health issue. And I don't, until they get her into custody and can question her, I think they're going to have a tough time.
I know, Sheriff. I know. This is what troubles me. Lieutenant Gould, let's talk a little bit about her lack of cooperation and what that tells you. And so initially we know it was Melodee's school who reached out and was like, hey, you know, this is a prolonged absence. We just want to make sure she's okay. And Mom had nothing to say to the school. And then so the school reports it. She has nothing to say to police. We know police returned to the house. Still nothing. As an investigator, Lieutenant, what does this say to you about Mom's alleged culpability?
Right. Well, anytime a parent is not cooperative and actually taking down the missing person signs, there's reports that she's cutting the faces off them. So again, back to mental illness. But her disguises and stuff, I mentioned on a previous show, some of her disguises actually draw more attention to her than she does blending into the community. These exaggerated wigs. Yesterday she was in court and exaggerated makeup. What's odd is, as Michael said, this is going to be the public that's going to be of assistance, and the media, of course. But we're working off a photograph that I think is several years old, and that is also somewhat stunning to me. I got thousands of pictures of my grandchild in my phone as we speak, update as of yesterday. So we're working on this kind of one photo that may not be as accurate. I'm not sure how old it is. But, you know, 2 or 3 years in a child's life, they changed dramatically in their appearance. So these are all the oddities. I'm hoping that the law enforcement is filtering. They know more than we know. We'd like to know, and they're just filtering the information for their for law enforcement purposes.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up, Lieutenant. If you look closely at the picture, it looks like she has baby teeth in that photo, and we know that she's 9. And so that probably does make it difficult for anybody looking for this child. This is the image that's been so widely circulated, but we see on surveillance camera, even her own grandma was like, I don't recognize my grandchild because of how grown she is. And yeah, that says a lot that there isn't a more recent picture. It's very, very sad. This child's father passed away, as I mentioned, and Mom clearly struggling. Michael, tell me, with respect to what's going on today, if you're her counsel, do you encourage her to waive this and just get the case on up to big court, or do you want to have a hearing today?
Yeah, Julie, I don't waive any of those types of hearings. That's a tremendous, from a defense standpoint, it's a tremendous ability to get discovery. You have the ability to have live witnesses testify, cross-examine these witnesses, something we don't have here in the state of New York. So these types of preliminary hearings are favorable. They're helpful for the defendant, and it gives them the opportunity to really get a preview of the case.
Yeah, definitely. Great points. You all made great points this morning. This is so sad. We will continue following the case. All of our guests are staying with us. Do the same at home, please. When we come back, we're turning to maybe a breakthrough in the death investigation of teenager Celeste Rivas Hernandez.
I was such an internet kid. The internet is really what I claim as my home. Like, if you ask me where I'm from, I say the internet. Because I was just online every day, doing my schoolwork, making songs, making a video, being a YouTuber, content creator, posting TikToks, posting on Instagram. Like, that's really my neighborhood was Instagram, and the society was the internet. You know what I'm saying?
So I guess the internet may be where police go if they arrest and charge David. They're saying he's a suspect. We're talking about whether the charges are around the corner. Plus, accused husband killer Corey Richins denied bail yet again. So what comes next for her? That's coming up for you on Opening Statements.
There was no fentanyl or traces of fentanyl found in the home anywhere.
1 or 2 pills might be accidental. 20 or 5 times the lethal dose is not accidental, Your Honor. That is someone who wants Eric dead.
The Court TV podcast will return.
Singer David seemed to be on his way to major stardom. Millions of online fans, a world tour, but now he's been identified as a suspect in the death of a teenage girl found dead inside of a Tesla that he owned. The singer, whose real name is David Anthony Burke, has not been charged with any crime at this point, so we want to be clear on that. However, multiple sources are saying he's also not cooperating with police, which wasn't an issue earlier in the case. The remains of Celeste Rivas Hernandez were found in September, severely decomposed, and according to reports, new details reveal that Rivas Hernandez most likely died in the spring. The 15-year-old was last seen alive in April of 2024. The LAPD releasing this statement in September, saying that the cause and manner of death for Rivas Hernandez is not yet determined, but it remains unclear whether there is any criminal culpability beyond the concealment of her body. Right now, investigators believe that more than one person was involved in disposing of the teenager's body. So the question we're wondering about this morning, if David is being announced as a suspect, then where are the charges? Let's talk about if charges are coming. Let's bring in our power panel. Still with me, the sheriff in Erie County, Pennsylvania, Sheriff Chris Campanelli, retired NYPD and Nassau County Police Lieutenant and canine expert Mike Gould, and criminal defense and civil attorney, we say he's an attorney to the stars, John Phillips. Good morning to you all. All right, so let's start with why name him as a suspect but not charge him? Is there utility in that from a law enforcement perspective? Lieutenant Mike Gould, I would love for you to kick off our conversation.
Yeah, Julie. Again, thanks for having me. So what just jumps out at me, some of this, the body of a 14-year-old girl, talk about child trafficking, et cetera, that's a side point, and she had supposedly a relationship with this person, was found in the trunk of her car. So to start to, was this certainly she didn't die of natural causes. I don't think anybody would suspect that, to not rule it a homicide right out of the gate. And then, of course, it's his car, so he's a natural suspect in this case. So again, I always wonder the words that people use. As you said, the only possible charge is concealing a homicide or the charge at this point. I don't get it, frankly, and I'm sure we're going to learn a lot more as the investigation goes very quickly. This investigation should unfold very rapidly with digital evidence, cell phone data, and we'll get witnesses, cohorts. He has a business manager, et cetera, that's possibly not involved, but possibly has information about it.
Yeah, you have to wonder what everybody in his circle knows or doesn't know. That's a great point, Lieutenant. Let's talk about what we know about David. So this guy first went viral on TikTok. He said his home is the internet. He's got a lot of followers, 3.9 million plus last time we checked. He released his debut album, Withered, in April. Investigators believe that Celeste Rivas Hernandez died in the spring. He started touring in August, and then with the news of her body being found in his Tesla, canceled his remaining United States and European tour dates. Sheriff Chris Campanelli, let me go to you. So initially, David was said to be cooperating. That was reported early on. We know the Tesla was abandoned for weeks and weeks. Neighbors were saying it was a nuisance, and it wasn't until it was towed to the junkyard that somebody noticed that foul stench and the body was discovered. So he was cooperative when that was what police were starting with. Now things have changed. Now he's no longer cooperating. What does that tell you, Sheriff, please?
Yes, Julia. I mean, I could tell you a number of different things. I mean, he could have advice from counsel to not say anything to law enforcement. It could be that he feels guilt. I mean, that's a possibility as always. Just the fact they found this young lady's body in his vehicle. I mean, he has to know he's a person of interest, a suspect in the case. And I think the local authorities, they don't want to do a lot until they can cross the T's and dot the I's. They want to make sure they've got the evidence they need to charge him.
Yes, Sheriff, correct. And they're still looking for the medical evidence. I have a statement from the medical examiner to Court TV saying that Celeste Rivas Hernandez was found severely decomposed inside of a vehicle on September the 8th. She appears to have been deceased inside the vehicle for an extended period of time before being found. John Phillips, I want to go to you with a couple legal scenarios here. Of course, we could have a homicide here. We could also have an accidental death, as you know. So talk to me here. Let's say you're representing David. Let's say you're in a position to give him advice. With the two scenarios, does the advice to him change in terms of cooperation?
You know, when you start that relationship, you hope it's one of trust and honesty, and that the client is telling you what happened. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But then you've got the three areas that you got to deal with. Civil court, which isn't, you know, right now anything that's anybody's talking about. The parents aren't filing a wrongful death case yet. Criminal court, which is the one that's going to keep you the longest and for good in a case like this. And then the court of public opinion. And it's not just the PR involved when you have a high-profile individual, wealthy, one would presume, individual like this. But, you know, going to the reason why you do leaks and release statements and announce somebody's being investigated is because you could have other whistleblowers. You could have people that understood the complex or the context of their relationship, if any, you know. And so you just got to get a big, you know, get your arms around kind of what really is going on and then craft a unique defense for that individual.
Yes, that's why you're so good at what you do, John Phillips. Lieutenant Gould, you know I love talking to you about interrogations, how I wish I could have watched you interrogating people over the years. So I've thought a lot about this. Let's say you can get David in a room. And let's just say that what's been speculated in the court of public opinion, you know, for many months, that he had a relationship with Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Let's say the speculation is true. So let's say he loves this woman. If you have an opportunity to question him, how do you start that questioning?
Right. So in investigations or interviews, it's really, I don't want to call it a game, minimize it as a game, but you got to get into the person's head. I'm a big fan of befriending somebody. I want to put myself in their shoes, maybe being fault, whatever the circumstances is. I want to be the good cop, always the good cop. And I prefer to do it alone. I don't like other people in the interview room with me because I do want to establish this relationship with them. I take my time. I empathize. Time is on our side. And I want to be the guy that they want to talk to. They want to find Lieutenant Gould. I'll talk to him. I want to be that guy. I don't want to be the one that's judging and being condescending and lecturing. So I just take my time, listen. Time is on our side, and I don't take a lot of notes. I just kind of empathize and get into the person's head and give them time to give me some information.
Sure, smart. Sheriff Campanelli, I want to pick your brain about a problem that perhaps you see more often than you would like to. The problem of runaway children. I mean, here's Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Sometimes I think we have to remind ourselves this is a minor child. So she was allegedly 13, 14. It's been, speculated when she may have first encountered David, and she ran away from home several times. We do know that. We know that there are confirmations that law enforcement was called many times to the house. Sheriff, what would your message be to parents or any family raising a child, who's struggling with that, a child who doesn't want to listen and stay home where they belong?
Another great question. We are so lucky in the day and age that we live in. There are so many resources and assistance available to families. If they have issues with their children, there's many ways to turn. They can go to their offices of children and youth. They can go to a private mental health organization. I mean, there's just so many ways to go, and they got to reach out for that help.
Reach out for help, absolutely. Well said, Sheriff. And by the way, as we say goodbye to Sheriff Chris Campanelli and Lieutenant Mike Gould, Sheriff, want to congratulate you. You just were reelected in Erie County. The people love you. I do know that. Congratulations, and we're happy to see you this morning. Thanks to you and Lieutenant Gould. And John Phillips, thank you. Stand by. You're going to stick with us. And you at home, you can get some more coffee, but come right back to your television set. We got much more coming up on Opening Statements.
Since Eric's death, we have learned and unfortunately are continually reminded that Corey is desperate, greedy, and extremely manipulative. We have watched as Corey has paraded around portraying herself as a living widow, and victim while trying to profit from the death of my brother.
Grief author and accused killer Corey Richens is staying behind bars. That is the ruling as she is awaiting her upcoming trial. And we're spotlighting what her next legal move should be. Plus, we've got some twists and turns in the death investigation of the teenager who died on board a cruise ship. We're learning more about the latest suspect. Allegedly, it's her teenage stepbrother.
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
She met up with acquaintance 2 at a Maverick gas station in Draper and purchased from him 15 to 30 round green-blue pills, which she understood to be fentanyl.
1 or 2 pills might be accidental. 20 or 5 times the lethal dose is not accidental, Your Honor. That is someone who wants Eric dead.
She is not going anywhere. Corey Richens, the Utah mother of 3 accused of murdering her husband Eric with a lethal dose of fentanyl, asked a judge to give her bond, citing a prosecution witness who recanted testimony. This is a drug dealer who the defense says has changed his story about providing drugs to Corey Richens' housekeeper. The judge says no bond for you, Ms. Richens, that a reasonable jury may or may not believe the drug dealer recantation, but there's plenty of other evidence that substantiates you being behind bars. Now, she's been in a while. She's been in for more than 2 years, getting ready for her February trial. Prosecutors allege that she put fentanyl in her husband Eric's drink to kill him and cash in on his life insurance policy. That's the allegation. She also, as we know, wrote a children's book about coping with grief. She spoke to TV station KTVX about her book after Eric's death.
It completely took us all by shock. And we have 3 little boys, 10, 9, and 6. And, my kids and I kind of wrote this book on the different emotions and grieving processes that we've experienced last year.
So let's talk about what her next legal move should be. Let's bring in our legal eagles. We got 2 high-profile attorneys on the program every Thursday morning for you, Michael J. Brown and John Phillips. All right, so what should Ms. Richens' team be doing now? No bond again. She's been denied several times, as you guys know. A trial's rolling around in February. Michael, what do you think the next defense move ought to be?
Oh, boy, this is a tough one, Julie. You know, the evidence is real strong in this case. And I kind of agree with the judge. It's a murder. The fact that the drug dealer may have recanted a bit really is insignificant from a risk of flight standpoint. They're going to have to attack some of this evidence. They're going to have to try to suppress some of the Internet searches. They're going to have to attack the credibility of some of these witnesses. They may have hired their own toxicologist to try to deal with that level of fentanyl in the victim's system. It's a tough case to try. And I think the evidence, although circumstantial, is significantly strong.
Yeah, it definitely is. Dovetailing off of that point, John Phillips, tell me, do her attorneys have a hard conversation with her about the risks of going to trial versus perhaps the worth of trying to negotiate a plea if she did what the state says she did?
I think you always have to kind of keep that conversation going. And now that we've got one more failed attempt, because of a recanted drug dealer, what do you expect the drug dealer to do? But because we're progressing in that fashion, at some point you do have to say, all right, we've got to address the elephant in the room. But on the same token, as a father of 13 and 11 and 8-year-old boys, you're orphaning these kids pretty much regardless. They've been orphans for a while. She's been in jail, and she's just, based upon the search history, as Michael was saying, and kind of where this case has progressed, where are you going to go? And I can't get the message out enough. We comment about this week after week after week. If you want to kill your spouse, don't, right? Like, you owe it to your children to just figure out a way to get past the divorce and all of this. Like, it's just outrageous how often we talk about, one spouse trying to kill another. It's not the way out, folks.
You're right. You're absolutely right, John. And we even have heard from Eric through witnesses close to him that he was afraid that she was going to kill him. I mean, and he had, as you both know, put things that were in trust in names of members of his family so as not to put her in control. He was suspicious and even used words to the effect of, if something happens to me and I die, look at her. I think she's trying to kill me. And we know that the prosecution alleges there was an attempted poisoning a month before he died. So that's also part of the case. Michael J. Brown, I have no idea, but from what I've seen reported, things like the walk the dog letter and, not good things about Corey Richards. I'm thinking she's a difficult client. I would not think it's easy to represent someone like her. Tell me, how do you have to handle someone like her who appears to want to really drive her defense and be the one in control?
Yeah, great point, Julie. I think we get that from all the things in the past. She goes on the TV shows. She espouses this book and says, she's a great mom. And she appears to be a very difficult client. And I think the way you have to do it is you really got to be a little more forceful with her. And you really got to lay out the cost-benefit analysis and say, hey, here's where we're at. Your call. At the end of the day, and John and I have dealt with clients like this over our career. At the end of the day, I'm going to walk through those doors in the back of the courtroom. You may not, and you probably won't. The question is, how can we minimize the damage here? And you really have to lay it out in that fashion and be very blunt with clients like this.
Yes. I love what you said about, I'm going to walk out. I'm going to go home to my family, keep living my life. You are another question, defendant. Michael, well said. John, tell me, if you had to bet, because a lot of people want to know, is she going to trial? I mean, it seems that we don't have any indications that she's not. If you had to bet, February's coming up. That's when the trial date will be happening. Do you think we'll actually see it go?
I do. I think we're definitely going to go, because you've got, what happens with these people that have gone to the ultimate price of getting out of a relationship. They've convinced themselves they're the good person. They're the victim. They're the ones that need to be protected. And so she's not going to shred her coat off, before that and say, okay, I murdered him. She's going to go all the way, particularly while those children are watching in her mind. And so, I think we're going to go to trial. We're going to get a conviction, and then, maybe she can face a tough reality. These folks have to hit bottom before they can start coming up. And unfortunately, bottom is a prison cell.
Yeah, well said, John. Yeah, I think she needs to let the bond go. Michael J. Brown, what do you say if she brings that up again to her attorneys? What answer would you have for her, knowing that trial's rolling around in less than 3 months?
In terms of testifying, in terms of going to trial?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, she wants bond. Yeah, bond's been like what she's been hung up on for these years. Yeah.
She is not getting out. This is a murder charge, Julie. She's not getting out, but I agree with John. She is going to trial. She's going to take the stand. She's going to try to sell herself to that jury, and I think she's going to lose.
Well, great predictions, Michael J. Brown. Yeah, I think you're right. She's going to testify. She just seems to me like there's nothing stopping her. We'll get the popcorn ready for that, and wishing the Richens family, Eric's family, all the best as they endure what's going to be a tough time watching all this evidence come in. Michael J. Brown, John Phillips, get some more coffee. We got more cues for you in just a moment. When we come back, we're talking about a stepbrother being named as a suspect in the death of 18-year-old Anna Kepner. This morning, we're highlighting the abuse allegations coming from this blended family. Plus, will defendant Matthew Lance take the stand? We're going to find out together in less than an hour.
Why would I go in neighbors?
Why would you go into someone's house and stand on contact?
Because I didn't intend to do that. With all due respect.
Maybe you didn't intend to murder them, but you did.
This is the Court TV podcast.
Troubling allegations of violence are emerging about the blended family of Anna Kepner as the FBI investigates the death of an 18-year-old, that 18-year-old rather, found dead on a cruise ship earlier this month. Now, several news outlets are reporting that Anna Kepner's body was found in a cabin underneath a bed, possibly covered up in blankets and life jackets. Now, a court document seen here shows that Kepner's stepmother, Chantel Hudson, wrote in an unrelated court filing this week that her 16-year-old son is a suspect in Anna's death. So he's being referred to as TH. Hudson and her ex-husband, Thomas Hudson, are in the middle of a messy, unrelated child custody civil case in Florida. Chantel Hudson accuses her ex of domestic and physical abuse against their two youngest children, including that 16-year-old stepbrother, TH, who's in question. Now, Thomas Hudson accuses his ex of a violent altercation with the couple's oldest son, who is an adult. That fight allegedly involved Chantel and her new husband, Christopher Kepner. Okay, that's a lot. We know that's a lot, but just wanted to kind of give you what's going on here. So what we're learning about Anna Kepner's death, let's be very clear here. This isn't coming from the FBI, who's investigating this. This is being gleaned from family court documents. Okay, because the family court issues going on with this boy's father and mother, okay? So that's what's happening here. We can see that, and why we can trust it is because when you swear under penalty of perjury that what you're putting in those documents are true, everything has to be fair and accurate before the court. So this is why we feel comfortable digging in on this. Let's talk about the idea that something could have happened to Anna at the hands of her sibling. This is pretty upsetting stuff. Let's bring back in Michael J. Brown and John Phillips. Okay, so we're talking about a minor potentially being responsible in some way with this teenager's death. Criminally, what are the steps that are going to be happening here? If this is true, if he is culpable, Michael, what can we expect with him? He's a juvenile.
Yeah, I think this is the state of Florida. So I'm not familiar with juvenile laws in Florida, but I'm going to assume, and John can probably enlighten us on this, that they're tantamount to New York, where a juvenile at 16, if he commits a crime such as murder or is charged with that, he will be treated as an adult because it may be one of those qualifying offenses. You know, but I'm really interested in looking at what the evidence is, Julie. You said something very interesting about because it was in family court and it was sworn out, therefore there may be some truth to him being a suspect or being the responsible party. Let's remember, in family court, there's a lot of emotions, and often we see people make false allegations and really embellish things to their benefit in a family court, because it all deals with custody. It could be deal with child support and things of that nature. So I wouldn't make that leap necessarily until I see some more evidence in regards to that young man.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Michael. So it's his own dad who's, writing this and saying he's in the custody of another party, so, yikes. And so remember, it was this boy's dad, not on that trip. It's this boy's mom who was on the trip, who's Anna's stepmom. So hopefully that we need like a family tree. It's a lot to make sense of here. John, does this make sense to you that, a lot of people were like, how does this little girl die? Little girl, actually, she's 18. How does this, young lady die with her family on a trip and wind up in a cabin under a bed? Does the allegation with the stepbrother make some sense to you?
We don't know the full family history yet. My law partner, Matt Hunt, does divorce all day long. I deal with wrongful death more. Neither one of us want a part of the other one's world, And this one, unfortunately, is where both worlds meet, where there's, like Michael was saying, very contentious pleadings. People over-disclose, and there's absolute immunity in Florida for things you put in a complaint in the divorce process. I wouldn't say it's always true. But there's certainly reliability here. But it's just tragic. And you got to go back all the way to what was going on in these households that this to a minor child, if it's true, seemed like the way out. Murder, death, whatever, it isn't something that should be taught in the house. It shouldn't be okay. It should be punished. It should be absolutely not even an option. And yet, even in the own divorce fight, there's all these allegations of abuse and neglect, and it's just really, really sad.
Yeah, it really is, John. It really is. Anna's funeral is today, as you both know. Michael, I'm curious, and I wonder if you are, if this stepbrother had anything to do with her death, if there was any kind of sex assault or sex assault attempt that might have precipitated this. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, if that's the case, Julie, it's going to be very, very beneficial for the prosecution and the police, because then there'll be some DNA that we'll expect to see, whether it's pubic hairs, whether it's semen, in those areas, as opposed to just DNA on or about her body. Because remember, they are relatives. They're in the same cabin, presumably, or at times in the same cabin. So the DNA that may be on an arm or a leg is going to be a lot different than the DNA in those areas. So I don't know what happened here, and I'm looking forward to seeing the evidence. But obviously things like that you just pointed out would certainly help the police lead to finding the true suspect.
Yes,
if that's the case. And
right.
There was always a discussion, by the way, Julie, about being an overdose, a medical episode. So I think there's a lot of unanswered questions right now.
Yeah, that's a great point to end on, Michael. We don't know that anything was intentionally done. You're right. Who knows what might have happened? This is a minor child. Did he panic? Did something, happen unintentionally or accidentally? So many unanswered questions. Great discussion and great points from you both. As always, we have to let you gentlemen get off to court. John Phillips, Michael J. Brown, thank you so much. Friends at home, thank you for watching Opening Statements with us. If you like the show, watch it again. Tell your friends about it. Go to courttv.com and click on the Shows tab. We put the episodes up for you every day. That's all for this episode of Opening Statements, my friends. I'm your host, Julie Grant, and it's been great being with you. On this show, I am calling out any pants on fire moments in our big trials and true crime stories, and I want you to come along with me. Opening Statements is live every weekday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern on Court TV. Thank you for downloading this episode. Please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends. You can watch past shows anytime you like on courttv.com.